Welcome to video 2 of how to be a first 1000-day friendly church workshop. In the last video, I shared a brief recap of church and early life and the big idea behind what it means to be an FTD-friendly church. In the next 3 videos, we are going through the 6 ways that churches can be first 1000-day friendly. They speak up, they pray, they surround families, they collaborate and refer, they equip and prepare parents, and they create warm and welcoming spaces for them. Now, in video 2, we'll be looking at surrounding families in the FTD and creating welcoming spaces for moms and dads caring for young children under 2 years. These 2 parts of being FTD friendly are connected and have to do with the relationship within the church. I am reminded of Matthew 25 here. Jesus is talking about the kingdom and highlighting how people who are part of his kingdom are those who feed the hungry, those who give water to the thirsty, those who clothe the naked, who look after the sick, those who visit others in prison. Following Jesus will lead you to be that kind of person, and the communities of believers, the local church, are to be growing into those kinds of communities. So when we think of each of our churches becoming that kind of church, we are considering, are we demonstrating that heart to families in the first 1000 days? Families in this stage have additional needs and challenges, and many times these young lives are vulnerable and are in need of much more care. FTD-friendly churches are those that are actively looking for ways to demonstrate their Matthew 25 heart towards them. So let us get into the details of how churches can surround families. My colleague, Busiswa, will be sharing this with you.
Relationships matter. God has created us to be in relationship with Him and with one another. And so it makes sense that one of the powerful features and strengths of a local church is the ability to create community around one another. This is about creating family feel in your church. Churches become an extended family to one another, good friends like brothers and sisters. If someone is struggling, we find ways to help, care, and support them. No other public institution does this like the church does and can. I am sure your church is already doing this. So when we are talking about surrounding families, we are talking about taking steps to see that families are held in supportive, nurturing relationships. Because relationships matter. Surrounding families is all about looking at how churches can move closer to families. For families with children in their first 1000 days, they face additional challenges, right? It is easy for them to drift out of church and miss out on the power of community. So when we are thinking about surrounding families in this caring relationship, it is about putting things in place so we make sure it happens and families are not forgotten or overlooked. It is all about moving from wanting the best for families to putting things in place and doing something about it. When churches are surrounding families well, they feel seen. They feel like they belong. They know who to turn to when they are struggling. They can share their joys and their burdens. They have that sense that they are connected to a community that is supporting them emotionally and spiritually. They know they are not alone in this big season of life. I'm sure you have heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Surrounding families is all about creating a modern-day village around families. It is about building a sense of community around mom and dad. It is about building relationships that are supportive, loving, and encouraging. What research is telling us is that these kind of relationships are essential for parents to constantly provide what their young children need to thrive. These kind of relationships help parents to bounce back from adversity and difficulties. Now remember, when we are talking about parents, of families. We are talking about mom or dad or granny, the adults providing care for their child. And we are focusing on families with children in their first 1,000 days from conception to the age of 2. It might be the family's first or second or third child. Why should we be surrounding families? First of all, parenting is hard. For those of you who are watching who are parents, you will know how much stress there is in the early days. It is a time of so much change, new roles, new responsibilities, lack of sleep, financial challenges, and so on. These things can lead to parents struggling, feeling overwhelmed, perhaps depressed, anxious, and fearful. And in this space, it is easy for parents to feel isolated and alone. Because of this, they are not able to constantly positively engage with their children in the nurturing and responsive way that their children need. Surrounding families in nurturing, supportive relationship is a powerful tool to build resilience. Parents who are held in these relationships can share their burdens, feel seen, and ask for help. They know they are not alone. They are cared for and supported. There is this quote that helps to demonstrate this kind of idea. In my empty house with a tiny crying stranger, I have never felt more alone. But then something happened. The doorbell rang, a church member dropping off a meal. The phone rang, an older mother from church asking me, how was I doing? My heart lifted, the prayer of God's people being answered. In the days following each child's arrival, the people of my local church reminded me, the church is my family. Now, before jumping into how you can surround families, it is important to listen to families in your church. Find out how are they doing. Don't assume you know their experiences. This will really help you to shape what your activities are to better support them. How can your church surround families in the first 1,000 days? This is about putting families into relationship. This is not going to happen by accident. There needs to be a plan. It needs to be on purpose. And this happens in two spaces, one in a group setting and the other in a one-on-one setting. Let's explore the group setting first. Your church can create a space for moms and dads to come together as a group. There is a great power when you connect with others in a similar life stage and battling with the same issues. This can break down that sense of isolation and be a great source of support and encouraging relationship. This group could be a mom's group. They are generally very useful for moms to get together midweek. They find friendship, support, and a space to get out of the house and be with other people that care for them. We know churches that also focuses on reaching dads and run fatherhood courses in a group setting with the goal of building peer support between dads. Some churches we know gather parents in the first 1,000 days in their Sunday meeting to give some teaching, pray together, invest in relationships. Others have a once-a-month social gathering for families in the first 1,000 days, meet at the park or a library. Other churches have baby shower or baby celebrations for families. It helps moms and dads to feel seen and part of the community. It helps the rest of the congregation to become aware of the family and the new stage they are in. These events or groups might be once a week or once a month. These spaces are good for parents to support each other, to learn together, and to feel I am not alone. So that is surrounding families in relationships in a group setting. Now let's explore one-on-one relationships. Instead of organizing a groups of parents, this is focusing on organizing people to visit families one at a time. It might be a lady visiting a mom or a man visiting a dad. We also know of a pastor who goes with his wife on a family visit. He meets with the dad while his wife meets with the mom. Building these kinds of one-on-one relationship works better. It is if someone is more matured. It is good if they have children who are out of their first 1,000 days so that they are credible when they are talking about parenting. Again, the big goal of building this supportive one-on-one relationship is to help mom and dad to feel like they are not alone and know who to turn to when they are facing difficulties. Sikunye has different trainings and resources that you or someone in your church can use to know how to build these supportive relationships and share good information and skills. Let me share a video of churches who are putting some of these things into practice for some more examples of how you can surround families well.
After joining the Sikunye team, I've been assisting moms, dads, and families around my village by being their ear to listen to their problems, offering help by babysitting to moms that don't have support system, even if it's babysitting for 30 minutes or an hour, just for the mom to be able to take a shower, to do her house chores, knowing that there is somebody who's here with me to assist.
I sent a few voice notes to some of the members in the church, and it was all received very well. Some was even surprised. There was a lady that I sent to, and when she got the message, she sent me, I was surprised at the message she sent me back because she told me her whole story and everything. And then I just told you, sometimes you look at people and they have smiles on and but then they carry so much. And I think it was really appreciated on their side.
And doing the home visiting course online was one of the best way of doing it because it allowed all members from all sectors, all areas to be part of this. And as a man doing the course, it was actually very much fulfilling because one now understands the type of care, the type of love, the type of connection mothers need. And we are able as men to actually assist mothers, and we are able to encourage other men as to what type of support they need. Actually, as a priest, it's even worse because now this becomes part and parcel of our pastoral care processes.
We tried to visit families with the newborns as well as the pregnant women, and we created a WhatsApp a group so that we can get in touch with everyone.
In my church, we've created a solid support group headed by us as pastors and our wives, in ensuring that we hold hands with the parents, who come from different households, different circumstances. So, and that has helped a lot, and I hope that this will spread throughout my church throughout South Africa.
We give them groceries. It's not that we have so much. It's not that we know too much, but we share the little that we have. That's who we are. We love people. We love to help so much. We ask them questions and we make sure that they answer them. Sometimes we ask them what are the burdens that they are carrying. Sometimes we ask how can we strengthen them. So we make sure that they answer all those questions in order for us to help them as a church.
So what we have done is we've got women who are responsible for them, who are taking care of them, who are calling them, who are following up on them. If we don't see them at church, somebody does the follow-ups, and so we check them on a day-to-day basis just to make sure that they're comfortable and warm and they feel the love in the church. So somebody is responsible for doing that, to check them. We try to help wherever we can with nappies, with their milk, whatever they need, maybe children food, whatever they need, through the donations that we are receiving in the form of offering in the church.
So I think Katalela has done a lot, has really improved our care, has made us to be aware and to take care of the poorest of the poor and those who are vulnerable in the church. So we hope as we introduce this program to the church, the whole church will be committed to playing a role in helping so that we may take care of those who need our help, not only materially, but emotionally, even just by giving information to a person, sharing the information. I've seen that it does a lot of change to them and their well-being and their welfare.
So now, when we do the home visit, what we've learned is we go to the houses and just check how they are doing. Maybe if there's something that I can help in order to not put a burden on them. Maybe let's say the child wants to go to the mall. I'll say, bring the child. So I will just keep the child with me. Then the person will go and run their errands. So it's something that we have never done before, but it's something that as a church we are learning to do, just to be there and changing their story.
One of the things that comes up when surrounding families is that some of the families may need practical help and support. As you listen to families, they may share their needs that they have. You might also visit and recognize that they have particular challenges or barriers. As a church community, look at what you have and see if there are any creative ideas that can practically support and help new parents. Some examples of practical help and support are help families practically with babysitting or washing dishes so that family can get a break. Or take an older sibling out for an afternoon. Set up a meal roster for volunteers in the church to take the family's meal. Organize a clothing swap where families with older children can bring their used but still good quality baby clothes for new families. We know a church that asks congregations to help families give lifts for other congregants to get to their clinic appointments. This is practically supporting families so that they don't face it alone. There are many ideas, and we look forward to hear from you as you put things in place in your context. That brings us to the topic of financial need. Some families have short-term needs, and your church is able to support. Other families have large needs or long-term needs, and your church is not able to financially support them. This is a difficult topic, and we encourage you to seek wisdom. One thing to consider is exploring what NGOs and other service providers are offering for families. A financial need might be met outside the church. That is okay. It is not all up to you. Surrounding families is about putting relationship in place to see that families are not alone. This takes some effort. It does not happen by accident. You can put groups in place for parents or organize for one-on-one mentoring type relationship. What you are aiming at is for parents to feel like they are part of a community that genuinely cares for them and is looking out for them. You and others in your church can be that modern day village surrounding families well. Together we'll be able to see that families are surrounded and cared for so that they thrive and give their children a strong start to life.
The beautiful thing about surrounding families is that it's not only up to you. There are others who are in your church community that you can ask to be part of this village of support. Include others. Ask them to visit. Ask them to host groups. Create awareness about the need and the opportunity so that others can step forward and the whole church is part of surrounding families. In the next part of being FTD friendly that we are exploring, it is staying in this theme of your whole church. We are going to look at how you can create welcoming spaces for families. My colleague Richard will be taking us through this part of being FTD friendly.
I will be talking to you about creating welcoming spaces for families with young children. And this is an important part of a church being First 1,000 Day friendly. And we're talking about how parents feel when they're at a church event or meeting. Well, how do they experience it? You know, First 1,000 Day friendly churches, they make sure that their churches and meetings create warm and welcoming spaces for families. And they work to make sure to a place that families want to come back to. Now, we can break this down into two major parts. First of all, we look at the physical space or the environment where your church is meeting. This sends a message to families with young children. And secondly, we explore the people in the church community. Families experience church meetings and receive messages from the people. You know, no matter how nice your meeting space is, it's the comments and the looks of the congregants that tell parents if they are welcome or just tolerated. So let's start by looking at the physical meeting spaces. What can be done here to create warm and welcoming spaces for families? And the big idea here is to look for ways in your meeting spaces to make it simpler and easier for families with young children to come to church and enjoy their time there. Now, in talking to some church leaders, we found that before they became First 1,000 Day friendly, they hadn't noticed that there was no space for moms to breastfeed. And if moms wanted to change a nappy, they went outside and did it on the ground under a tree. Now, what message was that sending to the parents? Maybe you do have a space where mothers are breastfeeding or a separate place where parents can take care of their very noisy children. And what is that space and what is that place like? Is it comfortable? What kind of message are the parents getting from that space? I encourage you to consider having a changing mat so that nappies can easily be changed during a church meeting, and also making that available to fathers so that they can be caring for their young child too. There are also issues of safety to consider. Is the space where young children gather a safe place, away from stairs and plugs and cleaning liquids? I mean, you can picture how quickly a toddler can open a cupboard and get to something that is harmful to him or her. And this brings me to the topic of child safety. Is your church a safe place for children? And how can you ensure that your church is the safest place in the community? This is not going to happen by accident or by wishful thinking. It takes planning and it takes leadership. A child protection policy is an essential part of ensuring the whole church is working to keep the safety of children in the front of their minds. Now, you might not know this, but it is actually a legal requirement that churches have an up-to-date child protection or safeguarding policy. And if this is new to you, I do have good news. Sikunye has workshops and informational resources to help you get one in place. Okay, going back to creating warm and welcoming spaces, specifically looking at the physical spaces. If you have a church venue that can be used during the week, consider opening it up to be a safe place where caregivers can meet. This might be a facilitated time with the leader, but could also just be a safe, quiet place from the big issues that parents are facing in the community. It can be a real blessing to moms or dads to have a safe space outside of home that they can go to during the week. Now, I recognize that there are different spaces that churches meet in. You might meet in a school classroom, a tent, your own building, or a hall. And it is wonderful that churches get together in such a wide variety of places. And so you might not be able to change some things that you do want to change. I can understand that, and many church leaders share with us that their space or their venue is a challenge for them. And at the same time, we've been so encouraged by the creative ideas that churches are putting into place in their various meeting spaces. And we will share some of those in a video shortly. But that's the physical meeting space. Now, let's talk about the people in your church community that can warmly welcome in families. What practices do you currently use to welcome people? You might have ushers or greeters at the door, and you could talk to them and share how important it is that they are warmly welcoming in families. Maybe they could even offer to help carry the big bags that parents are often bringing with them, all the things that baby needs during a church service. So ask those ushers and greeters to look out for families with very young children so that they can be warmly welcomed. Now think for a moment about those families that might feel a little embarrassed coming to church. They're not confident walking through the door. They might be worried about what people will say about them. We're thinking about the single mom, the teenage parent, the caregiver with a very noisy child, or maybe a parent with a child who has a physical or mental disability. These parents can receive support, care, and a sense of community from your church. But does the whole congregation welcome them in? As a church leader, what can you do to help parents overcome that fear? This might involve speaking up about the church and how the church can welcome in these families so that your whole congregation is warm and welcoming to every family that comes through the door. Another idea is to make a moment to help parents feel seen and welcome. You could use things like Mother's Day or Father's Day to welcome in parents and acknowledge them. Maybe when a baby is brought to church for the very first time, you can welcome in the family from the front of the church. Now, this particular part of being FTD-friendly might be quite hard to see or observe. And so we encourage you to talk to parents. Ask them what it's like attending your church meeting. And keep asking. Listen to them and learn from them. And really important is to speak to and listen to parents who stopped coming to church when they had a child. We can learn so much from their experience to know what we need to improve in our service to them. Now, when you're thinking about your physical space, as I mentioned, some things are quick and easy to improve and others might not be possible due to your venue size or limits that you have. I want to share a video with you and listen in to what some churches have done to make their churches more welcoming to families in the first 1,000 days.
What we have done in our church was to make sure that we have enough chairs for everybody to sit on, especially mothers and children. Make sure that mothers, especially those with children, in their first 1,000 days, they have a good, warm, comfortable space in the church where they can sit, where they can be able to nurse their children without disturbing the service. So we created an extra room for them, extra space where they can enjoy the service, and also be able to take care of their children. So we try to make everybody comfortable. We try to make them feel welcome, to feel like everybody else. Be happy and enjoy.
We do have a special time to welcome the parents in the church and also make a special blessing for the children in the church. And by that we'll be having both parents or even grandparents in the church, invited family members to come and just witness the blessing, so that makes them feel welcome in the church.
At our church, we didn't have a place or a room where the new mummies can go and change the nappies of the babies, or when the babies are sleeping, where they can put them down so that they can still enjoy being at church. So we built that room for new mummies and new babies for them to feel like part of the ceremony. During the ceremony times, I'm so thankful to join Sikunye. I've realized that there was more we can do for the new mummies.
The welcoming environment, even to the mothers that are breastfeeding. We even now know that we need to give them a special corner where they can feel free to breastfeed and still be part of what's happening in the church, not to be excluded to a point that they need to go outside because they need to breastfeed or feel uncomfortable. So by having a special place for them, a special area where they know that they can breastfeed there comfortably and still be part of what's happening, listening to what is happening in the church and be involved. We do not have to exclude them because we feel they have kids now, they need to breastfeed and all that, but they still need to be part and parcel of what is happening in the church.
You are already welcoming people and have meeting spaces. And so this is about looking at what you are doing and seeing how you can use what you already have to also include and welcome in families in the first 1,000 days. I am sure that you would like your church to be known in the community as a place where families in the first 1,000 days are accommodated and babies and children are safe, that it's a space that is inviting, protective, comfortable and loving, where moms, dads and young children belong and are seen. By focusing on warmly welcoming families, you can form a church community that is a priority for families to attend. You know, so often families stay away from church, but by growing in this aspect of being FTD friendly, you help families want to be coming every week. And when parents see the effort that has been put in to serve them, they feel seen. They know they are not tolerated, but actually embraced and part of the community. And they are receiving the love, the care and the support that Matthew 25 calls believers to demonstrate.
In this video, we have covered how you and your church can be surrounding families in supportive relationships, and how you and your church can create welcoming spaces for families. You will have seen that this is not about running a program in your church. Instead, it is about how the whole of the community is playing their part in supporting and strengthening families. As you have watched, we trust that you have had ideas and highlighted things that you want to get started. You might also have recognized some things in your church that you want to stop doing or perhaps do better. Just remember that this is a journey, and every journey starts with a few steps. What is coming up in the next video? For you to surround families and to create warm, welcoming spaces, the whole community needs to be on board. And so in the next video, we'll be exploring how you and your church can be speaking up about the first 1,000 days, and also exploring praying as a way of reaching the whole church and also to be supporting and strengthening these families.